Don't stop. Don't stop. Don't stop.
Hey everybody, I am here in my studio tonight and I thought that I would show you guys some of the different coloring products I like to use and some of the techniques I use with them. So I've got a picture here that I downloaded for free. It's a free coloring page. It's from Yet Another Mom blog. I will have a link down below, so if you want to go and check out some of these pieces, you guys can, and you can see some of the other things that are available for free on the internet. You just print yourself. I have this just on regular old copy paper. This is not on any sort of fancy artist grade paper or anything like that. Great for just trying out some quick things, color combinations, the kind of stuff where you don't want to use more expensive paper. So I'm going to get started here now. First thing I'm going to show are my woodless color pencils that I have right here. You guys can see those. I like to consider these as kind of a hybrid between crayons and color pencils. I'm going to show you guys. They come in two trays where you get the 24 set like this. You can see that they are a little fragile. I broke most of these shortly after I got them because I was holding them too tightly and pressing too hard. So you want to be careful with those. There are artist stores here in Louisville that do carry these as open stock, so I can replace them as I run out. These are great if you're wanting to color in and just do simple things, not a lot of shading, not a lot of blending, that kind of stuff. If you're just coming in, and I'll pick a piece here and so you guys can see it. We'll do this right here. Let me see, I'm actually going to change my color here real quick and start with a different one. We'll do this a little differently. So you can see you can just come in like this. It colors to me a whole lot like a hybrid. So it doesn't have you won't get as tight of points as you do typically on a color pencil with these, even in your sharpeners. But they color well. Good, so you see I'm getting good coverage quickly with these. So I can do something quick here. I'm just doing a quick kind of a rainbow gradient. This one's a lot more red here. It looks pink on the outside. And that's why doing test swatches of your colors is always helpful. So I'll just showing you some coloring quick, not coloring neat necessarily. I do have an extender that I'll show you in a minute that I use with these sometimes too. Again, I'm using this itty bitty nub here. Of course, sometimes holding a little nub is fun to color with as well. So you can see how those, I do a coverage here. I'll go back around and do a little more here. So when we're finished, it'll be easier to see the differences. Plus I'm going to show you some other products I have here that I use. None of these are sponsors, by the way. These are just things I like, I use, and wanted to share with you. Okay, so that is those by themselves. I'm not going to layer just yet. We'll come to that in a minute with some of these. The other pencils that I use quite a bit are also by koh-i-noor. These are my polycolors right here. They're your run-of-the-mill color pencils that they are artist grade. I use occasionally Crayolas as well. Those are my student grades. I've had a set since I was, I think it's 7th or 8th grade, so I've had them for a while. But I have the simple 24 pack that I got to start, and that's what it looks like there. These are the colors that come in that, as well as I have several that I've bought. I'll show you that here in open stock. Kind of add to my collection. The reason I didn't get a bigger set is because when I wanted these, they were back ordered, so it was going to take a little while to get them. So I got what I could when I needed them because we were going on a trip, and I'm just slowly building my collection as we go. So I'm going to use some similar colors here. Color another area. Let's see, where do I want to go with this real quick, just to kind of give you some differences with this. We'll go right here on this flower. And you see this is the slight difference. This color is very similar to one that was over there, but just coloring your basic first layer here, you see the difference in coverage between the two. Like that. We'll do a pink. And I'll go ahead and color in all these. I'll speed it up so you guys won't be too terribly slow, but I'm just going to color all these in pink. Okay, so there are two. You can see the difference between them. I use similar colors. Now, the pencils don't show up as dark with the first coat, but I normally layer and layer and layer to get the exact effect I want, so they would become more and more bold. But there are ways, too, of making these a little more bold. One of those is to come in with a blender, and you will see here I've got my extender on this because my blender pencil is currently that long. So this is the extender I was talking about earlier. It's just a simple little tool that you can use when they get down to little nubs so that you're not having to crimp your fingers trying to get around it. And those are great because they help. I'll show you here. You can come in and smooth out between the mountains and valleys that are in your paper so that you get that pigment all the way in and around. So you can see the difference that's making in the red. I'll do half of it here so you can see just what that'll do right there. You can also use it to kind of push it into those little spots you may have missed in little corners. That's great for going back for things you missed. Let me show you guys too. I'm looking for a good spot to do this. I'm going to do this with the green because real quick, hit another thing that I really, really like to use, and that's my eraser pencil. You can see it come out in a lot of my videos. I don't really reference that I used it a whole lot, but these are from Faber-Castell. Right here, this one's down to here. They look like this new, so it's a new one. This is the one I've used. I have found that sharpeners do not like these, so I will go downstairs and use my good old-fashioned crank wall sharpener a lot of times to get it because the wood does like to split on these, so just be careful with that as you're using your regular sharpener, as well as this is like a rubber eraser and the blades in a regular sharpener don't like a rubber eraser. So when I go to make a point on this again, once I sharpen it and it's kind of, I will sit here and use a piece of paper to kind of remake my point, rubbing out some of the eraser here. So that's the best way I have found to keep a good point on these. So if you need it smaller so you can get in a little teeny tiny area. This is great when doing pastel and wanting to take it out of small areas. I really do like this eraser pencil for that because I have a whole lot of control with where it's going. So let me show you, I'll purposely mess up here. Because even though these are not erasable color pencils, it will lift up quite a bit of the color. So let's say I'm coloring and I go out like that. I'm just being a little messy. Kind of see right there. This will lift quite a bit. See how much that lifted out right there? And so when I come back in with the color that's gonna be, this will hide a whole lot better than it would have had I just left that in there. And so helps with when you're getting in those little itty bitty areas to know that you can come back and clean it up a little bit. It's not gonna make it go away completely, but it's a lot better than it was. So can't just leave that. I'm gonna go ahead and finish these out here real quick. Then I'll show you guys another product here that I use. Actually, I'll do these side by side so you can see it. I'm gonna do 2 shades. Come back in the darker green here to kind of add in. See, I would think, okay, where would there be a little bit of shadow on these? And that would be on the lower edge. I'm just gonna kind of add in a little shadow out here with the darker green. And with adult coloring, this is meant to be fun. So, you know, try not to stress over your colors a whole lot. I know, I really like to pick colors that'll be great. I typically like to go back and hit these with a little bit of a highlight too before I blend, and I'm going to show you the pencil I like for that. This is one of mine. It is not a koh-i-noor, but one of the few things I own from, actually the only Prismacolor pencil I own is their white because it is very opaque. You can kind of come back in right here. And I will add this in. Now, you don't see it a whole lot now, but with the blending techniques I'm getting ready to do, this is going to kind of help preserve that lighter green in there. The only other pencil that I own that isn't koh-i-noor, and I will show you that one here, is the Faber-Castell Polychromos. I own the ivory. The closest that koh-i-noor has is a cream, and it's a little more yellow, and so this filled in a hole, especially if you want to do white blending but want to keep a warm tone to it. This is great for it. We'll get to white blending a little bit later. So if you want to round out your collection, those are 2 pencils that I would just buy out of open stock places to have in your collection. So first thing I'm going to show here with that, I have to sharpen my blender. And I will show you my sharpener too. I have a Staedtler sharpener right here. They're like $4 pretty much anywhere you can find them, whether it be an artist store or they have them at Staples, place like that. And I love the sharpener. I don't really use the graphite side much because I can get a really great point over here on the color graphite area. So I just switched my blade from my graphite to my graphite and color so I would get a little more use out of it because I used the fire out of this thing, so my blade was getting dull. So I'm actually really happy that I have a nice sharp point again because I haven't had a sharp point in a little while. But you'll see. Because the way I want to go with this, depending on what you want your color to do will decide your direction if you go from light to dark or dark to light. And I'm going to darken this up a bit. So I'm starting in my dark and working my way up. And I'm just going to blend this in. So you see I'm just kind of pushing the color up and in. This is this method. I see I've got a little mess up there, so I can hit that with the eraser here in just a second. I'll hit the stop one with that. A lot of times when I'm using this method too, I will go back with my dark and hit the edge one more time with it just to even reinforce that dark. down there because I like it really nice and dark with a nice sharp pencil. Kind of come in, add that in where it's really dark. You can see the difference that you get right there just by getting that back in. So a little bit of a gradient there. Another way to get a gradient is with Gamsol. This is another brand, same idea. It's a similar to turpentine substitute, odorless. So you don't have weird vapors floating around and real strong smells. But using a blending stump right here, go in and normally I have this on a little dab thing, but when you come in, see it just kind of, I like to think of it as kind of melting my color in, and so you can see it blends it in as well. And this is safe to use on pretty much most papers. I'm not going to say 100% all, but like in Lost Ocean and things like that, it's with your pencils, it's not going to bleed through. So you are safe to use that on those pages. It's not going to do anything weird to them. Again, I'm going to come back and kind of hit this by dark. Just kind of give it an even stronger line. So there you can see those two methods for blending. Another thing you can do, I'm going to show you a neat effect that I use with these, with my woodlesses, is I'll go back in with my regular color pencils. And so this makes a good base coat. And then I can come in here and then use these to create highlight and shadow. You can see I've got mine. So I can come around here. I start working this in. I'll show you a third technique for blending here. I also use this is called white blending, and I'll use my Polycolor to do this. White blending is great if you don't want your colors to deepen at all. The other two may make your colors go a little bit deeper, but when you do it with white, they tend to stay very, very similar to what they are laid down. But you just kind of pull the two together here. See my little circles? Little circles are very important for coloring. You can see my white blend here, getting rid of a lot of those mountains and valleys that are in there. Around the side. And even with doing this, normally you would have another shade in there to help it blend together too. So I'll take this in here. I'm doing this out of order, but it does work. So you can come in and say, pull it in here. With this layering, sharp pencils are really, really, really important, especially once you've started blending in, to really kind of push in. Here we go, as it all blends together. And sometimes I go back and you can see this isn't really well blended, so I'll come back with my blender pencil, especially since it's got the white in there. It'll stay pretty close to the color it already was, and this helps me get in those little holes right there. Especially to kind of smooth it all out. Okay, so there's part of that done. Now another pencil that I have been using quite a bit that you've seen are my Tritones. Those work a little bit differently, and I'm going to show those to you here. They have 3 colors in one right here. And let me find, okay, we're gonna do this guy right here. Or, no, we'll do the circles here. So let me get one sharpened up. That one I like right here. Used quite a bit. This one's the violet. I'm gonna show you how it works. And part of the secret is that you hold, so you kind of did a pink there, and I rotate. Each little circle. And what this is gonna do, it'll create different color circles in here. Because I'm rotating each time, different part of the pencil is coming in contact because they're different colors. And they're all kind of thrown together. So there's no rhyme or reason to where the one side is red, one side's blue, that you'll see in some multi-pencils. These are kind of all crazy in there. You can kind of see I'm getting some neat effects in this because of the way this just goes in here. So I will finish, I'll speed up, finish this guy up, and then we'll talk some more about techniques with these. Okay, so now I'm going to come back in and show you that hitting these with a blender helps bring out the color quite a bit. The set even comes with a blender in it. You can wake them up. I also found that sometimes, depending on the paper, using the Gamsol, like I showed you just a minute ago, works really well too. For bringing these to life and getting really good smooth coverage. Now you notice I'm still rotating this pencil as I'm using it. That helps keep your tip nice on your pencils as you use them. So just rotating it as you are going. It's just good practice to get into your work. Rotate, rotate. You see what these are doing now that I'm coming in. You can see great coverage in there. And once you've practiced with these, you can come in and really get good with shading. And if you combine this with a white, you can really get some good depth effects. I've done that on pieces. I wouldn't recommend it if you're just starting out. Practice your highlights and shadows with regular pencils first. Learning on these will be a little more difficult, but it can be done, and you get some really neat effects when you do it that way too. There's the tricolor, and you can see that gives a really cool effect, and I used one pencil to do that. Now there are different ones in this. Some the shades are a lot closer, I'm gonna fidget, together, and so they won't have as much contrast as you see in this one. but they still give really cool effects, especially if you're doing leaves. The greens with leaves are a whole lot of fun because, you know, no tree has leaves that are all the exact same shade. They're all close, but not exact, so you can create that look without a lot of effort. You can still go back with a regular pencil and add in your shadows and highlights on those as well. So there is that pencil. Okay, so this is going to be all for this video. I'm going to come back and do another video using some markers, and the next one will still be on this picture, so everything will end up together so that you can see what all these different ones look like side by side. So hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, please be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Also, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram. I am at Grace and Lottie's. I post pictures as what I am working on there pretty regularly. And as always, remember that art happens in everyday life. Make sure you're watching for it. Bye.
Don't stop.